Hello, welcome back to Mind Over Magnet. This might be the last episode. We're gonna look at the extras. I don't know if this is gonna be a shorter episode. This should be a shorter episode than usual. Alright, so we can have credits. Yep. We can go with level select, so 5 worlds, okay. Let's turn commentary on, see how it works. I don't know if that's gonna be anything. Okay, can I skip? Yes. Alright, question. How does commentary work? Oh, that's commentary.
Hi, welcome to the
Oh,
developers
it's
commentary for
it's
Mind Over
GMTK.
Magnet.
Hi.
I'm Mark Brown, the creator, designer, and artist for the game.
Cool.
First of all,
Artist
thank
is
you so much
cool as
for
well.
buying, playing, and finishing the game. I hope you enjoyed it. So, I made this game as part
Okay,
of my
hopefully going
YouTube
in
channel,
here
Game Maker's
won't-
Toolkit.
Yikes. Okay, well that's just all introductory stuff. Let's
This
hope.
game was originally supposed to be
Mhm.
a fast-paced platformer about a metal character who can use magnetism to sail through speed-running levels. But, as is often the case in game development, things changed.
Right.
So, at some point I had the idea to make it so that the character itself wasn't magnetic, but you could pick up a giant horseshoe magnet, and now you would be affected by magnetic fields and whatnot.
Nice
That
idea.
felt better, but having these two entities really lent itself to being more of a puzzle game than a platformer.
Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
Slightly begrudgingly, I changed the game to be the pure puzzle platformer.
Well, it's not purely puzzle, right? I don't think it's purely puzzle. I wouldn't say it's purely puzzle. There was timing to it. There was timing, there was slight jank. But that's okay. Okay, no actual commentary here. Sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to play through the entirety of this just to listen to commentary. But I might. Let's just go through the first world and see how it works out.
This is the first level with an actual puzzle, and while it's simple, it does tend to trip up players. Most use the button on the left to drop the box, then walk over it, hit the button on the right, and then realize that the box goes up too quickly to jump on it. This is a technique I discovered when researching puzzle design. Essentially, you want to trick the player into assuming that there's a simple solution, and then showing them that there's some kind of catch that makes their assumption wrong. Now they need to reassess and try a different approach.
That is
That new
pretty
approach
cool.
is not hard to find on this level, but it's a good introduction to the idea that in Mind Over Magnet, rooms won't always be as simple as they first seem.
Nice. Balancing act. Anything here? No. Alright. Is this timing? This might be timing. I don't know if it was timing or not. No, it's not timing. Oh, no. Sometimes I'll get stuck on the whole puzzles.
When I make a new mechanic for the game, like in this case the drill bits that go in and out, I try to think of every possible way that you could use it. So you could trap a box underneath a drill, or trap a box above a drill, or thread a drill between two boxes. This sort of brainstorming helps make sure I squeeze all of the juice out of a mechanic.
That seems like a
But
great
it
idea.
obviously gets a lot harder when you start combining all of the different mechanics. There could be dozens of different combinations to consider.
I feel like I've heard this exact sentence in a previous video about this game. Like a previous devlog. Okay. I kind of forgot what this was. Oh, right, this was a tough one. This was a... Right, hold on. So, this one was the first puzzle I got stuck with. No commentary for this one though, but this one just feels like a very... Yeah. I don't remember the exact solution to this, but I think it goes something like this. Why did I do this? This just resets the entire thing. I'm getting stumped again. On the exact same puzzle I got stumped with before. Ah, I forgot the exact combination you need to do this with. Oh, you need to turn this off and then turn it back on, right? So you get trapped here. Yeah. Clever. This one was very misleading. In a good way. It's not very misleading, but there is a very slight it's not something you think of as easily. Because it kind of goes out of the flow of the things you would do. Okay, commentary here? No, but cutscene. Alright, can I skip? Yes. What do you have to say?
So this is Magnus.
Hi, Magnus.
He's the first magnet you meet in the game and is kind of the mascot for the whole thing. But he actually came into the project very late. So early on, I realized that I would need to have multiple magnets in the game.
Polarity?
For two reasons. One, so that I could introduce the different magnet abilities throughout the game.
Like throwing and whatnot?
Two, so that I could make levels with more than one magnet.
Of course.
Now, for a long time, the first magnet you met could be thrown around, but not change polarity.
So like Min.
But I eventually realized that the throwing mechanic was quite complicated, and so that's a lot to dump on the player at the very start of the game.
Yep.
In the end, I made a new magnet, Magnus, who is big and bulky, so he can't be thrown. He also goes up magnetic fields much more slowly than the other characters, so now I only need to introduce the player to picking up and placing down the magnet, and can teach them about throwing it much later on in the game.
Cool. Hi. Okay. Well, I'm sure you have a lot more to say about Magnus, though. Yeah. Let's see how jank level works.
Of mind over magnet that took way longer to figure out than it really should have. The idea of taking the magnet from one room to the next. For a long time in development, Uni would go through a door and go into the next room, and the magnet would magically appear from a pipe. Players would naturally ask, how did the magnet travel between rooms? Eventually, I came up with the idea of each level ending with a giant pipe that sucks in any and all magnets in the room, which was good, but some players didn't seem to notice that the magnet got sucked up.
So you need a special
In the
cutscene.
end, I made this level to make it super clear. Magnus explains that he will catch up, then the level end animation holds for a long time to show Magnus going in the pipe. And then he says, "See, I told you," in the next level. Finally, players stopped asking how he traveled from room to
It's such a niche problem, though. It's such a niche problem to have for your game. It's just all your plot holes. I never expected a plot hole to be like part of the game, game design thing. See, told you. Sure, I suppose. Whee! You can very slightly alter yourself. Like you can very slightly change your trajectory while in a magnetic field. Like by pulling, yeah, you can use your momentum to very slightly do it. I don't think it'll be enough to cheese levels in the game, but it's interesting that you can do that. Too tall.
This is another example of a level with an assumption and a catch.
Right.
Plus, this level teaches the player a really important concept. The idea that you sometimes need to leave the magnet somewhere in the level, turn a magnetic field on, and then go grab the magnet. That simple idea turned out to be pretty difficult to communicate. The game had a seemingly simple puzzle with this concept that proved to be really hard for players, leading to
Is that true?
playtesters asking for a hint or skipping the level entirely. Eventually, I landed on this layout, which gets the point across, but it's also quite easy to figure out as there are simply not too many places where you can leave Magnus.
Nice. You didn't talk about the height mechanic, but I assume that's like pretty obvious. Okay.
Here's a new mechanic, the one-way platform. These have been in the game, in some form or another, since the earliest prototypes. I think for a lot of game players who grew up on Mario and the like, the concept of a platform that you can only pass through one way is pretty familiar and obvious. But in playtesting, I discovered that less seasoned gamers didn't always get the concept.
Is that true?
To make it clear,
Oh, you know why?
more-
It's Celeste. It's my experience with Celeste. That's why this feels so intuitive to me.
When it has flopped down and can now be passed through from either side.
Yeah, no, this is very Celeste. Like, most platforms, like, are like this in Celeste, actually. Most, of these things. Very Celeste. Cool. Alright. Maybe I can skip this level. Can I just skip this level if I want to? No, controllers, glyphs. Oh. I don't think I need that. I don't know why this wasn't here before. Okay, I wish there were like an option when you end the game to just get to the next level. Same here, you see. It's because I don't want to have to solve every puzzle. But at the same time, now I have to like select it myself. It's not... Oh, is it? Oh, it's a watch your step, right? So now it's a way out. This is a cutscene.
I typically wanted a world to finish with a bigger, more bombastic level. In this case, I took 3 levels that I liked but felt weren't big or complex enough to be individual puzzles, and then stitched them together into a single stage. One sticking point for playtesters was not knowing that they could leave Magnus behind after the 3rd puzzle, which, in retrospect, is fair enough, as the previous puzzle is about figuring out a way to bring Magnus up to the higher floor. In the end, I made it so Uni had to squeeze through a small gap to get into the 4th and final room, signalling to the player that there's no need to bring Magnus any further.
Interesting. Oh. Okay. Did I get stuck here? Am I stuck? Gosh, I gotta reset the entire puzzle like this now. Wait, is that true? No, I didn't have to. Okay, so that meta thing there was not actually meta. You don't have to do whatever I did. I don't know why I thought you had to. I think it's just because I kept thinking of holding on to the magnet here. My brain just thought you had to keep holding on to the magnet, which is a problem that was mentioned in the commentary, as it's just that it was in a different spot. It's much earlier into the puzzle where I met that problem. Alright, sure.
Welcome to World 2.
Hello.
I thought it was really important to break the game up into different worlds, with unique artwork, music, and mechanics.
I really like the music, by the way.
Some early playtest versions of the game used the same background and music for every single level, and that became boring pretty quickly. Now, originally the idea was for World 1 to have no magnet at all, just puzzles about blocks, but it felt like it took too long to get to the actual point of the game, magnets, so I ended up introducing Magnus in the first world.
That was probably a good decision, because the game is about magnets.
Lasers were a mechanic that have been in the game for a very long time. They're fun because they're deadly to the player, but not to the magnet, leading to lots of different puzzle solutions. I start by simply introducing to the player the idea that a magnet can be used as a shield to protect Uni. It took a lot of iteration to communicate to players that the laser could be blocked in this way, but having that little square of 4 tiles blocking the middle laser did a lot of heavy lifting in that regard.
Most of the time I would have just expected the player to figure that out themselves, because there really is nothing else you could do. But sure. A lot of subtle hinting here, which is good. Okay, this is less puzzle and more just figuring out where to put this. Alright, let's turn you off first. Yeah, same here, right? Like, there is actually no hinting that you can block a laser from the bottom. But I guess it's not too much of an issue. Cool. Alright. There is in fact no commentary here either. Okay, I think I should do this. Do Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and do this. Almost feels like a 3-point turn, but that works.
Here's another new game mechanic, an orb that turns on and off when it's hit by a laser. Now, when it was initially put into the game, you would have to hold the laser on the orb for a few seconds before the connection was confirmed, an idea I probably borrowed from the Talos principle. In the end, this turned out to be more complicated than necessary. By having the orb connect to a slow drill bit, you would get the same effect. You'd have to block or zap the orb for a long time for the drill bit to move all the way.
Sure, that works. Tripwire. Right, I remember this. So this is this talking about, I think this might be talking about it. Let's go here. Okay, I can pull you up like this. Alright. Yeah, I remember this being a thing. Cool. Okay, nothing here either. I kind of don't remember what to do here. Okay, I think I get it. Do I get it? I don't get it. It's fine. Oops. Okay, no, it's kind of the opposite. Okay, yeah, it's a pretty long process, but I see how this works. This goes here. Yep. Oh, I'm just putting the entire game all over again.
This level has existed in the game for a long time, but it was actually supposed to be much earlier on, like it was the second or third room in the game.
Wow,
for
really?
a long while. But it proved to be quite a lot for players to figure out so early on in their adventure, and became a roadblock in the first few minutes of play. Eventually, I moved it to the second world, but had to retroactively add in Magnus, because originally it didn't use a magnet at all.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
This level has existed in the game for a long time, but it was actually supposed to be much earlier on, like it was the second or third room in the game for a long while. But it proved to be quite a lot for players to figure out so early on in their adventure, and became a roadblock in the first few minutes of play. Eventually, I moved it to the second world, but had to retroactively...
Wait, why am I doing this?
Because originally, it didn't use a magnet at all. In the end, it worked out well though. It adds an extra step where you break Magnus out from his little prison before you work on the actual solution to the puzzle. I did consider adding another step where you need to put Magnus on one of the boxes to weigh it down and make it travel more slowly. And this does actually work. Magnus can weigh things down.
Right, so can I actually, but...
to not use this as a puzzle mechanic in the
yeah,
game,
I don't
as
think...
it's quite subtle and hard to communicate.
Like, there has been exactly one level in the entire game that uses weight mechanics. And only a single one, I'm sure.
So what little story Mind Over Magnet has, well, it ended up being put into the game very late into development. I always intended for the game to have a narrative, and did plan for something a bit more bombastic, but I ultimately decided that I'm not much of a writer, and didn't want to spend forever on rigging up complex cutscenes. So the narrative is, I'll readily admit, pretty bare bones. I think as a developer, especially a solo developer, you have to choose where to spend your limited time, and which aspects of the game don't deserve as much attention. For Mind Over Magnet, that ended up being the story.
That's fair, that's fair. I don't remember how the last level in the game went though, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't that big though, for wanting to put a bombastic level at the end of your world. Unfortunately,
This is
it
one of the more cheeky levels
wasn't
in
as
the
impressive.
basic idea that you can use a drill to push a magnet came out of a playtest when a player did that by accident and suggested it should be a puzzle solution, and so this level was born.
Right, I remember
Now,
this.
I really like levels where you use a mechanic in a surprising and non-obvious way, so this fit the bill, but it also ended up being pretty complicated. You might have noticed the symbols in the game: green hearts, red diamonds, and so on. These things tell you which switches are connected to which objects. This is helpful for players, but it also proved helpful for me.
When making the
If my
levels?
puzzle layout needed all 4 symbols, then it meant it was probably getting overly complicated and needed to be redesigned to
I
be
see.
more simple and elegant. In this case, after dozens of different designs and attempts, I couldn't find a way to make it work with fewer than all 4 symbols. But, oh well, a little difficulty spike here and there isn't so bad.
True. The way I do things when I design levels in like Baba Is You, because I do that, I use the rule list. Like when you go out here when playing a Baba Is You level, you have a list of existing rules down here, and when there are enough rules, it actually folds over to a second column. And generally, I accept any level that has a rule list of at most 1 full column. That is as many rules as I'm willing to put in the game at the start of a level. Any more than that, and it just feels a bit too much for, anyone to solve it. So I guess there's some similar idea over here.
This level is a good example of how certain decisions can have helpful knock-on effects later. So previously I mentioned that Magnus rides up
I forgot to finish this,
more
honestly.
slowly than Min and Max, which is a good
Oh,
way
it's a
to
catch in
introduce
midair.
new
This
players to the
really
concept.
boring thing.
But it also let me make
Sure.
this cool level where you grab Magnus in midair as he rides up the field. You couldn't really do that with Min and Max. It's also a fun little physical interaction that I really wanted in the game, and so I'm glad I...
Okay, I mean, okay, basically finished whatever you had to say there. I mean, yeah, I guess fair enough, but like, still. Not a level I would expect to be sort of as puzzly. But sure, this actually goes like along with the very, very, very beginning idea of the game, didn't it? Okay. I forgot how to do this. Right, it was something about doing that, but I... okay, it's close. It's close to what I want. I forgot how to actually get this done. Is it like this? No, I don't remember how to do this. Jeez, there it is. Sure, no commentary about this level either. This one was interesting. Just because it was a lot more timing than usual.
Here's another new mechanic, the reset button. I tried not to add too many timing-based elements into the game. It should be about solving puzzles, not running fast and panicking. But I still wanted a few puzzles that were about doing something within a specific window. I did also adapt this mechanic to become a looping switch that would automatically turn on and off after a certain amount of time, but it didn't lead to great puzzles and the sound effect got super annoying, so that one ended up on the cutting room floor.
That's a thing. Wait, I'm sorry. Like a floor of cut levels? Why? Wait, is that something I can explore? Hold on. Alright. Let's cut the commentary for a while. I don't think so. Also, is it just me, or is like there a very weird glitchy thing that happens? Oh well, I don't know. Okay. I don't remember where we were. Like, where were we? Let's try that. Yeah, sure, I don't mind skipping a
Most
few.
of the levels in the game fit entirely on the screen without needing to move the camera, and that was definitely by design. But I wanted a few levels with a moving perspective, and this was one of them. The idea with this level was to trick the player. You can go left or right, but by putting Magnus on the left, most players would solve the left side of the level, then go right and not know how to solve it, before realizing that they need to get Magnus and solve this side first.
Oh. I need to drop you on that. Okay. Right, I remember this one. Alright, I need to get you back. Alright. Classic trickery. How do I get you back? I'm not sure how to get you back. Oh gosh. Oh. Right, the death mechanic. Hey, is that intended? Because I don't actually know if that's intended or not. I haven't really used the death mechanic in like a while at all. Indeed I do. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. If I did, my bad. Anything here? No. Okay, well. That's such a sassy line. Have you always been smirking like this, or is it just me? Because I always thought you were not smirking at the start. Like, it really does not look like you're smirking, but maybe you are. I did mention like the smirk like shows up later in the level when you figure out we're on the same boat. But I guess not. Alright, anything you want to say? Oh, if there is anything you want to say, it's not here. Wait, is commentary on or off? Oh, did I turn it off? No, I came from like 2 levels ago with commentary in it. There is commentary over there, okay. What took you so long? Not sure.
It's time to introduce the player to another main mechanic in the game, throwing a magnet.
Oh, you sound like you
This
said that
took
from
a
further from the
long
mic.
time to develop, mostly because it needed to work the same no matter if you were playing on a controller or with a mouse, and those actually operate quite differently.
This is new territory for me. I haven't actually heard about how controllers work. Like how you would code for both controller and a keyboard. Alley oop. It's an odd name. Don't remember that being a name, but I guess it was. That's probably been speedruns at this level actually, now that I see it. I wonder how fast this game can be beaten. Maybe like 30 minutes?
I think this is the only level in the game with 2 intended solutions.
Interesting.
So you can go through the
I don't know
process
one.
of turning on and off the different magnetic fields, or you can ride the magnet up the left beam, let go of it near the top, and fling yourself over the drill bit. This move, letting go of a magnet to fling yourself over a gap, is fun, but I decided that it's more of a platforming trick than a logical puzzle solution, so I decided not to make it an actual required trick to get through the game. but I could still reward it by providing it as an optional puzzle solution for speedy players.
How? How do I do this? I'm not sure how to do this actually. Can I actually make it? Doesn't feel like you can. I don't know what you're talking about. It's like you can not hit that. Oh well. If that's how it works, I guess that's how it works. This is pretty slow though, so. Alright, fair enough. Two intended solutions.
This is a really important mechanic, the no magnet laser beam. Basically, if I have a laser that destroys the player but doesn't affect the magnet, then there should be a laser that destroys the magnet but does nothing to the player. That can lead to different puzzles, like this one, where you have to throw the magnet into the beam while being stood on the button.
Yep.
The no magnet beam will come back in a lot of puzzles, so it was important to introduce it to the player in a simple tutorial.
Right. Hold on. Gotta turn you off first. Okay, it's a bunch of other puzzles from here on out. I don't remember how this works. I think it was like this. Yeah, like that. Get back down from here. And turn that on. Yeah, alright. Yeah, we're fine. I'm just speeding through the game now. I don't know how long this is gonna take, but this might take pretty long.
This is one of my favourite puzzles in the game. I really like the symmetry of the setup and the solution.
Right, the one I say was very Talos Principle like.
However, I don't feel like I actually, well, designed it. You see, the puzzle originated from a basic idea of having two laser beams pointing at a single orb and then needing to do something. And so I threw those elements together and started playing around. And then at some point, I just completely stumbled upon the idea of needing to have the magnet on the button, then stand on the button to...
Okay, I cannot believe it.
This is one of my favourite puzzles in the game. I really like the symmetry of the setup, and the solution makes you feel pretty smart. However, I don't feel like I actually, well, designed it. You see, the puzzle originated from a basic idea of having two laser beams pointing at a single orb and then needing to do something. And so I threw those elements together and started playing around. And then at some point, I just completely stumbled upon the idea of needing to have the magnet on the button, then stand on the button to keep it held down before picking up and throwing the magnet. And that just felt really cool. So I basically discovered the puzzle mechanic by accident, and maybe that's why I like the puzzle so much. I got to have that all-important eureka moment of seeing something cool and surprising, which as the designer, I don't usually get to have.
Yeah. Fair enough. Cool. Cool. Okay, I have to... Color theory.
Another key aspect of the game is the idea that red things are attracted to blue fields and vice versa, but red things ignore red fields and blue things ignore blue fields. Well, for most players, at least. If you can't get your head around that, then there's an option in the settings to make it so things are attracted to beams of the same colour. But anyway, this puzzle was supposed to finally introduce players to this colour-based idea. I don't think it was ever as successful as I was hoping, but it will at least be reinforced in the next few stages, which also play with the same colour-based concept.
Nice. You know, one thing the one thing I thought this oh, this is the first one that actually stumped me like really hard. I cheesed this, I think. Yeah, I cheesed this one. Okay. That's why I get you up here. It's not about throwing, it's something about throwing you this way, I think. Yeah. It's like this. Oh, yeah, I should put before that I need to activate this first so I can throw things down. What? Sure. Boing.
This room introduces us to the spring, which is a pretty fun mechanic. A lot of players have a smile on their face when they first use it.
I think I did.
But it was actually just there to solve a problem. You see, if the level has a magnetic field, it's clear that you need to use the magnet to ride up to a higher platform. And if it has a chain pulley, it's clear that you need to use that to get up just as Uni. The spring, however, lets Uni go up by himself or with a magnet, making it ambiguous how to solve the puzzle. It is also just good fun, mind you.
It is good fun. Oh right, it was about this thing, yeah. Interesting idea. I don't actually think this has been like really explored, but it's okay. I would have expected a commentary for this level. But I guess every level has its own like sort of interesting idea to it.
This puzzle really shows a challenge of making a game like Mind Over Magnet, specifically a game with super discrete movement and also physics. You see, the solution to this puzzle is to get the box in a specific position so you can bounce the magnet off the box and onto the button. But it took a long time to stop the player from just throwing the magnet onto the button without the need for the box at all. Maybe throwing it from the top platform from a very specific spot, or bouncing it off the ceiling and onto the button in the seconds before the spring bounces you up. The solution was spikes. Lots and lots of spikes. It makes the level quite scary looking and can lead to some annoying moments where the magnet is destroyed, but it did at least stop the player from solving the puzzle in an unintended way.
Anti-cheese, yeah, you definitely have to always have some sort of contingency for cheese, even if it means trading off some playability, but it's okay. I got the solution in the end though, so no cheese. Anything here? No, this is explore before mechanics, so I guess not. Nice, I didn't actually expect this to happen, but sure. I forgot. that this was a solution to the puzzle. Thread the needle. Something special, I think.
like this puzzle because it's another example of catching the player out.
Meaning?
It feels like the solution is to just time things carefully so you spring up to the higher level before the moving platform seals off the route upwards. But that turns out to be only half the solution. You'll need to keep thinking to find the actual answer. Now, there are a few puzzles in the game where I have to cheat the physics system a little, because by default, when the moving platform pushes the magnet along the ground, it makes the magnet judder in a really messy way.
I can see that
It's playing
actually.
sound effects, and it looks buggy and broken. So I actually swap the floor out with a really slippery ice-like version when this happens to make the magnet slide along more gracefully. There are a few hacks and cheats in the game to make sure things work the way I want to, but hopefully the player doesn't notice the smoke and mirrors.
Well, I don't think I did, but you can sort of see the magnet does slide a little, I guess. Okay, what am I doing again? Sure. It's a bit like how hidden text works in Baba Is You, I guess.
This is actually one of the puzzles that has been in the game for the absolute longest time. Or
Yeah,
at least
wow, this really
basic
stumped
concept.
me. This level
Because
did.
when I was working on a really early prototype for the game, I made a system to respawn the magnet out of a little pipe if it is lost or destroyed. And soon after that, I realized I could have a puzzle where you have to intentionally destroy the magnet and have it respawn in a more useful location.
So not destroying from the previous level didn't
Puzzle
count
was
as
horribly
intended, I
designed
think.
And no one could figure it out, but I still liked the idea. So a puzzle where you have to kill the magnet on purpose has existed in the game in some form or another right through to release.
Nice. Okay, this one is a bit weird though. You have to like sort of throw it just so it stops there, which, you know, is stopped by this little ledge over here, but isn't always very okay. So you gotta like aim it really well though. I don't think that's gonna work, right? Is it gonna work? No. I don't remember this being like that. Yeah, it is somewhat actually not working out. Oh, right, because the solution was to drop it here. That's what made this so much more simple of a puzzle. I really thought you had to smack it here, but you didn't have to. Alright. My bad, puzzle creator. It was my stupidity. That's okay. Alright. Well, should be just the cutscene, I guess. Yeah, the cutscene where I get destroyed as well. Sure. So yeah, this is the one about polarity, I think.
For a long time during development, there were 3 completely different magnets. Magnus, a magnet that you can throw, and then a magnet where you can change its polarity. But I had a lot of trouble justifying why you'd keep leaving magnets behind to then hook up with a new one. And
What does that mean?
Kind of weird to just start getting to know a character to then ditch and replace them. Eventually, I had the idea that I could consolidate 2 of those magnets into one character. When you first find Min, you can throw her around, and then later, through some kind of machine, you unlock the ability to also change her polarity, revealing Max.
Nice. From downtown. Anything special here? Does not look like it. Okay, looks like there really isn't much other commentary at this point. We'll just wait a second, right? Okay. You actually see the level title in the pause menu, so instead we're just gonna listen to the. I'm not even gonna try and solve this anymore.
Another one of those mechanics that just sort of emerges from the rules of the game.
Does it now?
If you switch the magnet's polarity while in a magnetic field, you can drop and also move left or right, and then keep flicking that back and forth, and you can move sideways. But it's also one of those things that feels more like a platforming trick than a logical puzzle solution. But in this case, it's really fun to do, and it's not too difficult for the player to input, so it stayed in the game as a required puzzle solution.
It is kind of fun though, so yeah. Sure.
In the earliest versions of the game, there were lots of different magnetic objects, and they all looked and acted slightly differently. So at some point, I decided to make a more generic magnetic panel object. This was a great move. I could then very easily attach this magnetic panel to all sorts of other objects, and it would act exactly the same as any other magnetic object in the game. So that includes the basic magnetic fields, moving platforms, these new dropping platforms, and the upcoming scissor gate. At one point, I
Scissor gate?
put a magnetic panel on the
Oh,
tip
right.
of a
Wait.
magnet, so you could walk around with your own personal magnetic field, but it got cut for scope reasons.
Scope. I mean, it would be cool to see maybe an extension of the game.
Tricky thing,
Maybe a
puzzle
custom
design
puzzle
is
editor.
that sometimes you can end up in situations where the player is stuck and needs to reset the puzzle. I tried to avoid those situations, but it's pretty difficult to do. And because it's as easy as holding a button to instant restart, I didn't mind it too much. Still, I tried to patch over as many of
Whoa.
those as possible. So, in this puzzle, the top button was originally a basic flip switch, but that meant if you flipped it and then dropped down, you couldn't ever get back up to flip it back. So instead, I changed it to a reset switch. This meant that the puzzle would reset itself after a few seconds, but it had an unintentional consequence of giving this level a fun little timing challenge that adds some excitement to proceedings.
So this is resolvable, I think. Yep, sure. Anything here? No. Alright. This one actually took me a while as well, I think. Wait and pull me. Wait and pull me. Spin me. It's interesting titles as well. Right, these guys. We do not have any commentary for this mechanic apparently. Well, this mechanic is pretty decently easy to figure out, so sure. Dropping in. We do have text here.
This is another favourite puzzle of mine. It's really simple, but such an elegant use of the polarity switching mechanic. It was also a puzzle solution that I stumbled upon while making a completely different level, one with multiple magnets, multiple switches, and a whole array of lasers. So sometimes you need to just take the best bit out of a puzzle and then start afresh. That way you get tight puzzles like this, instead of overly complex levels with way too many elements. As I went along, I found that I almost always have to throw away my first attempt at a puzzle, rather than just keeping that initial draft and constantly building on top of it.
Yeah, happens often. Happens often enough. Right, this one took me forever. This took me like 15 minutes.
This is a bit of a cheeky puzzle, but I like it so much that I had to keep it in the game. Basically, at some point in development, I added a physical lever that you could switch by throwing the magnet into it, but I decided to swap it for this spinning fan blade.
I kind of forgot the solution, to be fully honest.
But it also created a crazy physical force
Oh,
when it
right.
span around.
Thank you for
This could
telling
lead
me.
to fun puzzles like this one, where you're using the action of the blade to toss the magnet around. It's also another level with a cheat in it. You might notice that the magnet is well and truly grabbed by the magnetic field when it flings across the screen. That's me applying some pretty strict forces to the magnet to absolutely guarantee that if you've solved the puzzle, the magnet will definitely be grabbed and shoot up towards the panel.
So this is not the typical strength of the magnetic field in the game, apparently. It's just really strong to ensure that the puzzle is solved when you actually solved it. Alright, security breach. Nothing here. Same thing though, I think. These new mechanics no longer have commentary to introduce them, but that makes sense. Nothing here either. Gateway. Old friend? Is there anything here? I don't think this is just end of cutscene. Yeah, bring back Max. Alright. The final one. Right, I do want to see the commentary for this world though. This world has had the most interesting puzzles despite not having that many. The commentary should give me like a lot of insight as to like what's going on here.
It was always my intention to have the final world be much shorter than any other.
I see.
I've played so many games where you feel the game is coming to an end and you're really excited to finish it, only for it to just drag on and on. I wanted you to get your magnet friends together and then just play through a few levels before making your triumphant exit. Oh, also, this level originally featured the same solution, but instead of knocking off Magnus, you were knocking off a heavy battery. There was a whole thing about having to bring a battery through the world so you could power up a machine, but in the end I ditched the idea and so swapped the battery out for Magnus.
Cool. Interesting. Like that would have been truly meta. Okay, well this one does have a pretty fancy solution, so I'll play it out. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, this was really cool. Like, figuring out this... I mean, I already knew this was a thing you could do because of the previous level. So maybe that was intended, where the previous level kind of just inadvertently introduced you to the fact that magnets can stack. I'm not sure. Either that or the fact that this world had to be shorter just meant that you can't really introduce that many concepts. Same here actually, this polarity thing, or parity thing. Again, keep messing that up. Not a thing that is explicitly stated, but sure, that works. String buddies, this should have something in it, I think. No, alright, well there just isn't, but yeah, this is pretty cool as well. Introducing the fact that by being on a spring, you can actually be in aim mode while in midair, which wasn't possible before, but maybe like springs have been there for like a pretty long time. Wrong level. It's fine. Okay, not as much text as I would have expected, because this did have the most novel ideas in it. But alright, that's fine. Nothing here. Alright, it is just a final rush to the end, I guess. The last leg. Is this the longest one? I don't know, but this would have been the longest level. This is the longest level, I guess. It had like 3 rooms.
And so this is the final level,
Mhm.
a fun, triumphant push using both Magnus and Min and Max together. I hope you enjoyed this developer's commentary, but please check out Game Maker's Toolkit on YouTube, where you can find a whole series of videos dedicated to the development of this game. You'll be able to see how the whole thing came together and maybe follow my future journey to make more games. Thanks, and goodbye.
Bye-bye. Alright, and so that's basically it. This is a pretty long segment to go work with. I'm not gonna actually play this. And then, of course, credits. But I don't think credits have any commentary in it because they just said bye to us in the previous level. Yeah. Otherwise, that is the end. That's the entire thing. I wonder if there's anything like across though. Like you could theoretically almost get someone over, but I don't think there's any point. Okay, well that's it. That is everything. Yeah. Alright. Cool game. That is... well, that's all there is. If I would say this game has a lot of potential. The main reason why a lot of the ideas stated in here is well in the game is mainly because of... what is that flashing on the screen? It is mainly because of scope reasons. Yeah, if there are too many mechanics in a world, it gets a bit excessive. So yeah, I guess it makes sense that this level is just that minimal. It's not that minimal, but it is a lot more minimal than it was intended to be, I expect. Other than that though, one thing I do want to see is maybe an extension of the game, because a lot of the things that were mentioned by the commentary about new mechanics do sound pretty fun. I do want to know what it feels like to have maybe tougher puzzles in the game. The only issue with generally with physics-based games is that the more you put in a physics-based game, the more janky things get, and at some point it's just gonna flow over and it's gonna be a really, really horrible play experience on a few puzzles. Besides that though, maybe, you know, people of the community could come up with some really interesting level ideas, which is why a custom level editor would also seem to work very well with this many elements in the game already. Yeah, alright, those are my final thoughts on the game. Very clean, very fun, very short and sweet as well, which is nice. Yeah, but with that, I think that is the end of the series. The full end of the series, Mind Over Magnet. Yeah, I really enjoyed this journey. Hope you enjoyed it as well. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.